that feeling when you're so exhausted that even after a full night's sleep, your body just feels heavy? Your mind is racing, it never really switches off, and every little ask from someone feels like a massive weight. If that sounds even vaguely familiar, you are definitely not alone. And let me tell you, it is so much more than just being tired. Your body is trying to send you a serious warning sign. So let's get into what's really going on here. This line, it comes from the story of a teacher, and it just perfectly captures that hollowed out feeling of burnout. It's a state that goes way, way beyond simple exhaustion. It's this deep detachment from everyone and everything that used to light you up. And that right there, that's the real gut punch of burnout. It just erodes your connection to yourself and the world. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we first have to make one thing crystal clear. Burnout isn't just a really bad case of stress. They are fundamentally different things. And honestly, seeing that difference is the first crucial step toward understanding what your body's trying so desperately to tell you. Right, think of stress kind of like an elastic band being stretched. It's an energized state, We're mobilized for action, there's a sense of urgency. But burnout, that's what happens when that same elastic band has been stretched for way too long. It's lost its ability to snap back. You're left feeling hollow, completely detached, and just running on empty. Here's the thing about burnout. It doesn't just show up one Tuesday morning out of the blue. Nope. It is a slow, creeping process. The good news is we can actually map this journey through 5 pretty distinct stages, which is so helpful for spotting it before it really takes over. So it all starts in what's called the honeymoon phase. You're full of passion, you've got all this energy for what you're doing, but then the onset of stress kicks in. You start noticing some days are just harder than others. And if that keeps going, it can slide right into chronic stress, where the exhaustion starts to feel pretty constant. Stage 4 is burnout itself, where you feel completely depleted and disconnected. And finally, stage 5 is habitual burnout. And that's when the state gets so deeply wired into your life, it feels normal. Recognizing these stages is absolutely key because it gives you a chance to hit the brakes long before you get to the end of the line. And get this, burnout doesn't always look the same on everyone. There are kind of 3 main flavors. You've got frenetic burnout, where you react to stress by just working harder and faster. You're caught in this crazy cycle. Then there's under-challenged burnout, which comes from boredom and monotony, that feeling like you're just wasting your life. And then there's worn-out burnout, which happens when your work is constantly clashing with your deepest personal values. It's like a moral injury. But here's the kicker. No matter which flavor it is, the toll it takes on your body is pretty much the same. So, to really understand that toll, we need to kind of pop the hood and look at our body's command center, the autonomic nervous system. Let's play car mechanic for our own bodies for a minute here. First up, we've got green mode. This is our happy place, our home base. Think of it like a calm, quiet forest where you feel grounded and safe. When we're in green mode, we feel connected, we can think clearly, our problem-solving brain is fully online. This is where we rest, digest, and really connect with people. It's where we're meant to live most of the time. Then there's amber mode. This is our fight or flight response. It's super useful for short bursts of action, hitting a deadline, dealing with a crisis. It's designed to get us through a challenge. But, and this is a big but, the danger is getting stuck here. It's not built for long-term living. This graph here, the Yerkes-Dodson law, shows this perfectly. See, a certain amount of stress, a little bit of pressure, can actually boost our performance. It gets us in the zone. But as you can see, there's a tipping point. Once you go over that peak, performance just crashes, and you head straight for exhaustion and overwhelm. That's when stress becomes toxic. When we stay in that amber mode for too long, that constant flood of stress hormones creates something called a high allostatic load. It's a fancy term, but just think of it as the cumulative wear and tear on your body from being stuck in high alert. This constant pressure is exactly what leads to brain fog, a weak immune system, and that deep, bone-aching exhaustion. And this brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer. It's about reframing burnout not just as stress, but actually as a form of trauma. Now stick with me here because this is a game changer. Now, when we hear the word trauma, our minds usually jump to a single, big, life-threatening event, right? But there's another kind, little t trauma. This is the slow, painful accumulation of smaller, distressing events. Things like being repeatedly criticized or ignored or humiliated. It's any series of events that overwhelms your system's ability to cope and bounce back. So how does burnout fit into this? Well, first off, it is a chronic state of unmet needs. When our core needs for things like safety or feeling valued or having security just go unmet for a long, long time, our nervous system responds like it's under constant threat. It's what's sometimes called a trauma of omission, the trauma of what didn't happen, the support you didn't get, the recognition you never received. Second, it's about violated boundaries. That feeling of powerlessness when your personal time, your emotional well-being, or even your moral lines are crossed again and again and again, that is an inherently traumatic experience. It slowly chips away at your sense of control and safety, and it basically teaches your nervous system that you are not safe and your needs just don't matter. And third, it's the lack of support. The therapist Peter Levine says something so powerful. Trauma is what we hold inside in the absence of an empathic witness. And that's it right there. Going through overwhelming stress completely alone, without anyone to validate or understand what you're going through, is what makes the experience traumatic. Your system has no way to release that charge. And finally, it's that feeling of being trapped. This is a big one. When you feel like you're in a situation that is both completely unsustainable and totally inescapable, your brain can enter a state of what's called learned helplessness. And guess what? This activates the exact same primitive survival responses in your nervous system as a major traumatic event. So why does all this matter? Why does reframing burnout as a trauma response change the game? Well, because it completely flips the script on how we should approach healing. It moves us away from thinking a long weekend or a vacation is the answer and toward true, deep nervous system level recovery. If you take one thing away from our time together, let it be this. Burnout is not a personal failing. It is not a sign of weakness. It's not you not being able to cope. It is a completely understandable, adaptive, physiological response from a body that has been put in an unsustainable situation for way too long. It's your body, in its wisdom, trying to protect you by shutting things down.
So the real question this leaves us with is this. All those symptoms of burnout, the exhaustion, the detachment, the brain fog, they are a message, a very loud, very clear message from your nervous system. And the question is, are you ready to finally stop and listen to what it's trying to tell you?